Okay, just a moment. I'll begin the presentation. I am recording this, so there will be a replay. Give me just a moment here and I'll click on a few things before we get started. Let's make sure these slides are going to work on the next click. There we go. Okay, today I'm going to talk about my chat room. I'm going to explain why I think it's actually the best option for people who are interested in trading with me and learning, my strategies, how it is that I'm trading, how to trade in difficult market environments. And the markets are going to change. We're going to experience cycles. You are well aware that lately, especially since about the middle of July, things really changed, and the market is very jittery and jumpy in regards to information on a moment by moment basis, and it's reacting to tweets and things like that. So the markets can be really challenging, and if you're not in the right chat room, or if you're not in the right environment, or you don't have people to talk and bounce these ideas off of or with, people who can share with you their strategies and their experiences in certain crisis mode scenarios, which is what we're in. I keep referring to this one as more of a preservation. So we're more on survival mode in a situation like this. And I think it's important to trade with people that have that type of experience. And that's what this chat room's about. So I've joined, and I've looked at other chat rooms. I joined a chat room back in 2001 when I first started trading. And it was a mess. It was a nightmare. The people that were operating the chat room had very, very limited experience. One of the chat room moderators only had 8 months trading experience. So he was calling out trades that were consistently losing for me. I was just following their recommendations. And that's there's really no way to know until you're actually in the chat room. But one of the ways that you can figure out which ones is which option is probably better for you is to try and determine how much experience these individuals have who are operating the chat room. So I've been trading since 2001. And I opened up my first chat room in 2007, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. I want to get through this presentation and show you some of the strategies that I'm using, what's working for me right now, what adjustments I've made to safely and appropriately trade inside of this current, wild, unpredictable volatility that we see on a regular basis. And not so much that trading is always predictable. I'm not saying that at all. What is really unpredictable is how the market reacts to comments, rumors, and statements and tweets, specifically on Twitter, right? These tweets that we see, and they reverse price like on a dime. Like it'll stop going, one direction, and it'll immediately go 180 degrees the opposite direction, and quickly. And sometimes you're not aware of why that's happening, because those events, those comments and statements, they're not always, they're not on an economic calendar, so you can't prepare for the timing of them. So generally, they're there. Those scenarios, those situations, those tweets, and those comments, they know that they're going to have an impact on the market. And sometimes I would speculate that it's because they're trying to test the market in certain ways, and other times because they're trying to maneuver price into certain levels. And then you don't hear anything from those individuals for a little while. We talk about that in the chat room quite a bit. So this type of chat room is going to help you make more money. You're going to be able to trade with others who are doing the same thing with me in a protected environment. In my chat room, I don't have lots of people yelling out or typing in trade details that will confuse you. I actually joined a couple of chat rooms back in my at the beginning of the first year of my trading career, and I experienced things like that. Like I didn't know there were so many people typing in their ideas that I didn't know who to follow. They were just typing in. There wasn't one particular moderator that was offering trades. That was one trade chat room. And then there was the other chat room that I mentioned where it was exclusively operated by these individuals who were calling out trades. They were the only ones who called out trades, but they didn't have that much experience. So before I begin, though, I want to get some disclaimer out of the way. I want you to understand a few things. I want to be totally transparent here with the information that I'm going to share with you. First of all, my results are not typical. And the performance that you see on my websites, they are not typical because I think that, and this still happens. I mean, this still happens every day. I run into new traders that are really inexperienced, and they're really excited about getting their trading career off the ground, and they think it's going to be relatively easy. They've been told that it's easy. They've read articles and think, I got this. I think I can do this. And I know what that's like because I did the same thing. I remember specifically sitting in the car with my wife before we went out to dinner, and I was talking about, I wanted to trade full time. And I remember coming home and driving home and stopping at a stoplight and making a right turn, waiting for traffic to pass right after dinner. And I remember saying out loud, I got this. Like, I know I can do this. I know I'm going to be successful at this. And I remember that just that moment as I put my hands on the steering wheel, I can still see it clearly. And I'm turning the wheel and I'm thinking to myself, but I didn't want to tell her that I have no idea if it's going to be easy or hard. I didn't want to even say that to her. And I have to admit, I bought into a lot of the hype and the things that I was reading on the websites about how easy it was going to be to trade Forex. Trading in general. I actually started off with futures. And then about 3 months later, I found out about Forex. And I've been trading both ever since. So the same strategies that I use to trade Forex, I use to trade futures. I trade Bitcoin as well with the same strategies. And in my chat room, I actually call out trades when there's really good opportunities in the futures markets, commodities markets, and Bitcoin, in addition to Forex. But Forex is always going to be our primary focus. I worked really hard at it, and I don't want anybody watching this recording thinking that if they join the chat room that it's going to be relatively easy, just follow some of the trades. Yes, follow the trades. I'm going to tell you exactly what I do. But in order for you to get the same results that I do or other people in the chat room, the bottom line is, and I'm sure you already know this, you're just going to have to put in the time. I'll explain exactly the hours that we operate and the hours that we trade, so that before you ever consider joining a chat room like this, you would know exactly what's expected and how much time it's going to consume. When I talk about making money later on in this presentation, I'm not implying that you or anyone else is going to achieve results like this, because first of all, I don't know you and I don't know how much money you have available to trade. Many of my subscribers in the chat room are trading standard lots. Some of them are even trading 3, 4, and 5 standard lots. So you know what a standard lot is. Generally, you're earning about $10 a pip. And then I have other subscribers that are trading micro lots. It's all up to you. You don't have to add more money to make the system work. It's all about what we see on the charts, the patterns that we trade, the fundamentals that are driving price in either direction, and the execution, right? It's based on my profits and my targets and my stops are all based on price levels, not based on the amount of money I have in my trading account. You're not obligated to open up, 10 lots, 15 lots, scale in, scale out. Scaling out is one of the things that I do, I'm going to share with you. But scaling in is not necessarily something that you have to really worry about at different levels, because especially in this environment, we're trading in really tight consolidation ranges. Breakouts don't occur all that often. There are times when, and in the past, I've got charts and I've made videos and I share them, with everybody just to show them the comparison between what is going on now since the middle of July to what has happened in the past. For example, I've got one. It just happened back a few months ago, and there was 3 continuation breakout trades. And I'll explain what a continuation breakout trade. That's the strategy I'm going to teach you today. There was 3 in 1 week. Each one of those trades paid 55 pips. The target for the continuation breakout trade on the euro dollar is 55 pips. And each one of them hit, and that was 3 times in 1 week. So it was well over 150 pips in 1 week as a result of trading that. And now I haven't had a continuation breakout trade on the euro dollar all week, and it's Thursday. So things will change. Things will go back. We go through these cycles where you get this low volatility, which begets high volatility, and vice versa. And you get the same thing with interest rate cycles and business cycles, and we get political cycles. We get all these things that have an impact on the market, and you've got to be aware of them. You've got to be sensitive and in tune with them. That's a lot of what I talk about in the chat room. I'm sort of talking out or thinking out loud my entire process of trading throughout the day and how I'm setting up either the decision to stay out of the market or to get into the market and why. And I'm teaching everybody my strategy, everybody exactly what I'm looking at. Everybody is going to see what I'm looking at and what I'm tracking as far as news and analysis. When I talk about my clients, please know again that their results are not typical. And again, because it's all based on how much time you spend with me in the chat room. Some people will spend half of the amount of time that another trader will spend with me, a member in the chat room. So obviously the person in the chat room that's spending time with me throughout the entire session that I'm in the chat room is going to end up with more money. They're going to get more of my trade calls, and they're going to get more experience, more understanding, more knowledge. It's education between trades. I'm teaching my strategies, I'm showing my charts, I'm using my microphone, I'm taking questions. I don't hide from my trades. If there's a loss, we dissect why the loss. If there's a winning trade, I explain exactly why it's a winning trade and how we can duplicate that. I do a lot of coaching and I do a lot of personal work. I mean, sometimes there'll be somebody in the chat room that's willing to stand up and ask some questions that maybe other people are wondering about, but really aren't that bold yet or comfortable enough yet to ask. So somebody will, and then that leads into a big training session, and everybody watches. Everybody benefits from that, and then at the end, I get a lot of messages that say, "This is gold. This is amazing. Thank you very much. This is exactly why I want to be in a chat room like this. In addition to the trade calls." All business entails risk. We know that. Eventually, we're going to have some failed trades, but we can earn back those losses. And again, as I mentioned, I'm going to show you my strategy and how I've made adjustments to my strategy. I'm not changing the plan. I'm not changing the details, but I've made adjustments because of the market conditions. And it allows me to profit even though a lot of people are experiencing a lot of difficulty hanging on to some of their positions. So you would be required to work if you were to use this service, the chat room. It's not hands-off. You have to be a hands-on trader. And that's good because I get a lot of emails, and every once in a while I'll get somebody that will ask me questions about my chat room, and they'll say, "I don't want somebody to trade for me. I want to learn how to trade. So will I learn your strategy while I'm in the chat room?" And absolutely yes. That's exactly what it's all about. When I tell you when I'm getting into a trade, I'm teaching you what that strategy is. So this trading model that I'm using and sharing, like all systems, it's not easy at first. It's going to, there's a learning curve for it, but I'm there walking you through each one of these trades. It's not like I'm teaching you the strategy and then you go off on your own and find the trades. I'm going to call those trades, and when I call those trades, I'm executing those trades. You can rest assured that I'm taking those trades too. I'm not just calling them and hoping for the best, and I'm going to trade it with you side by side. So you probably won't score big on your first try if you jump into the chat room and you're still using other systems that aren't making you any money. You could maybe perhaps put those on hold while you're learning my strategies and trying mine out and my trade calls. But again, sometimes it's very possible that I could call out a trade when you start your first day in the chat room, and it could be a losing trade. That's reality. Again, I don't have a series of losing trades without the ability of earning the losses back. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit later on in the presentation. So when I show you numbers later on, they're to illustrate the power and the potential of this trading system. And again, in no way am I implying that the scenario that I describe will happen to you or anyone else, because you could end up maybe when that scenario does set up. If you're not in the chat room, obviously you're not going to get it. You're going to go, "Well, I didn't get it, so I don't know if it works." So you get my point. The more time you spend with me in the chat room, the more money you're going to make and the more trades you're going to get. So how this webinar is different than others. I'm obviously going to make an offer at the end of it. It involves working closely with me and having interaction on a daily basis with me on a one-on-one coaching level in the chat room. I'm going to call out trades and I'm going to teach you my strategies. The information in this webinar today, though, is how-to material. I am going to show you how to do some things today that will help make your trading easier, and then I'll offer to help you with it so that I can make sure that you're going to succeed if you're going to use my strategies. It's important that I be there to explain these strategies so you can get inside my head, you can get those questions answered. I tried learning strategies back in 2001 from CDs and watching videos and reading books, and it was hard. Like I couldn't ask the guy any questions. There was nobody to to turn to in the heat of the moment when I'm thinking, is this what I just learned in this book or in this video? I don't know. I wish I could talk to somebody. That's what I was going through, and that's what I thought. That's what it felt like. So you're not going to experience anything like that if you're in my chat room. So I have a special offer for you. I'll offer it to you at the end of this presentation. It's to get into the Forex Chat Room. If you want to work together with me and trade with me in the chat room, time is of the essence because there's a limited opportunity for this one. So I deliberately made my trading system a structured step-by-step system that I could follow. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to eliminate the waste. I had operated businesses before, and one of the key things that I was always looking for, first of all, I needed some kind of a business plan for direction if I was starting off, starting by scratch, if I was starting off new in a business. As opposed to acquiring one that was already in existence. And no matter what, at every stage of each process in every area of my business, I was always looking to eliminate the waste, the things that just don't need to be there. But sometimes you have to go through that process to even realize whether or not you need to keep it as part of your system or not. So that's what I was doing. My system was a little bit complicated when I first put it together. This was back in 2001. And I was actually learning some other strategies that just required too much confirmation. And I didn't like that either. So I developed my system and I use it every day. But when I first started applying these methods, it was really difficult to stick to the plan because I wasn't really too sure that it was going to work. Sometimes I would experience losses and I couldn't figure out why, and there were still some tweaks that I needed to make to the strategy. But I still needed to stick to what I was doing so that I could look back over a certain period of time and analyze the data. It needed to be consistent so I could analyze the data to determine whether or not it was working and what I could have changed. So I didn't want a system that was only going to work for a little while and then stop working. I saw some of those systems and strategies on forums, Forex forums back in 2001. I would read about them. And some of them seemed really promising, and these guys that started these threads would give them a really fancy name for the name of their system or their technique. And then I got smart because I would find myself spending hours reading these threads. So what I did is I started going to the very end, the very last few posts, and then I would read those comments. And very often, when a system that they would talk about initially in the first few pages seemed promising, but didn't seem like it was based on any kind of reality, like you know what I mean. You've probably traded and seen those little fad techniques and strategies. You go to the back and then you realize and you see that people are saying this just doesn't work anymore. The markets have changed. Something's changed. These people, aren't responding anymore. It's just not working. That happens. Simple moving averages, people back test and then they start talking about it to generate some attention, but it's not based on any reality market, solid market principles is what I like to refer to it as. So they don't have any forward testing with it either. So I wanted an easy, and I don't mean any disrespect by saying and using the word easy. It is easy once you understand it, but I wanted an easy to verify step-by-step system of identifying a trade, then confirming the trade and executing the trade with the same profit targets and the same stop loss every single time. And that's what I put together. I wanted to make the system structured and so simple to confirm because I knew I was going to be trading for the rest of my life. I'm never going to stop, and I didn't want to get burned out in the process because there are times when you just need to take a rest. I also wanted to one day teach my children how to use this system. So I needed to strip it down to like an SOP, right? Exactly what it is that I need to do step by step. The operating procedures for each one of these techniques and strategies. So I video recorded the process over years. When I created my trading system, I still watch some of those videos. It's kind of interesting. And then I also had a written journal and document along with a lot of spreadsheets and charts. And I have all of that material. And that's how I built my trading system. And I wanted to be able to pass it along to my family. So I know exactly what it feels like to buy lots of books, courses, join chat rooms, and have them all fail miserably. As I said, I bought a trading course back in 2001. That was $2,000. It was CDs and manuals, and it was all like the same free education that I was reading about on websites, and I would go to the library and rent books. It was the same stuff, and then I would go to the Barnes & Noble on Friday night and buy another trading book, and it was all the same thing. It was all just basics. Like by the time I was done reading all that material, I still didn't have a strategy that told me precisely when to get in, where to put my stop, and where to put my target. They gave me some general ideas of how much money you should try to make or how many pips or whatever, but they couldn't tell you because they're not trading live with you. So it wasn't helping. I was still experiencing losses, and you're probably going through the same thing. So going through that process made me feel angry and at times extremely desperate. Like I didn't know how I was going to earn back all of the losses and all of the money that I had lost. And I didn't want to tell my family. I didn't want to scare them and make them think, wow, you've lost so much money. Like, I can't imagine you ever getting it back. Like, I didn't want to even hear that. So what made the difference for me is one night in this chat room, the people that sold me the $2,000 trading course, they also had a chat room that I joined afterwards, which was I think it was like $160, $180 a month, something like that. And that was the chat room that was operated by those individuals that just didn't have any experience. And one of the moderators only had 8 months experience. And we were losing trade after trade after trade after trade. And then on top of that, I was taking my own trades, and those were losing trades because I was just chasing price. And it was just exaggerating and compounding the losses. So one night, I finally hit this point. I lost it. I couldn't take any more. I looked at my trading account, looked at how much money I had lost. I'm in California, so the London market starts at about 12 midnight for me. And it was right after 1:30 a.m. California time, 4:30 New York time. There was some economic data out of the UK. again, the chat room moderator calls out another trade and it loses. Like I'm down another 45 pips again on top of all of the previous losses. And I'm looking at my charts and on my platform, and I'm thinking, I don't even know what to do. Like this is crazy. There has to be a way for this to work. So I get up, I go to the bathroom. Like I wanted to scream, but I didn't want to wake up my family because it's 1:30 in the morning, and I'm staring at myself in the bathroom, and I'm saying, "There's got to be a way to figure this out." I'm pointing at myself, going, "Don't ever forget this moment." And there's a way to figure this out. There's got to be other people that are out there doing this. I know that the information, I have it all. I just need to work on it. I need to take this to another level. I need to really be committed to understanding what is going on when I place a trade. What is going on inside of this market? How do I figure out how it's moving, when it's moving? What are people thinking? What are people doing? There's so many different things that you need to learn, and it's just going to take time. But I knew I could do it, and I was committed. Like there was no way. It was do or die for me. So I logged out of the chat room. When I came back out of the bathroom, I logged out of the chat room and I sent the people off a message. I said, "Don't, charge me for another month. I quit. I don't want to do this. I cancel." And then I didn't place any trades for 2 days after that. I just stared at the charts. And then after that, things started to make sense. I started to look for patterns, and I go on, and the story goes from there. So I'll stop there. But I committed myself to understanding how the markets worked, and I developed my own trading system. Most people don't get that opportunity to spend all of their time trying to figure out how the markets work. Most people have full-time jobs where they operate businesses. I basically locked myself in my office, and in this room, I basically work 7 days a week. Like even when the markets were closed on Saturday and Sunday, I was looking at my charts. I was moving one candle at a time, going through what I call a closed market analysis exercise. I share that with all of my subscribers and members in the chat room and my coaching students. And it's something that we use to develop a pattern recognition sensitivity to the strategies that I'm using, and also to reinforce that confidence that, hey, these methods and these techniques really work. So I was always trading. Like there wasn't a day that would go by where I wasn't trading, even when the market was closed, because I was analyzing the charts and going through it. So I've estimated that it cost me over $300,000, real money, $300,000 in trading losses to figure all of this out. Now, of course, I made money during that time, or I would not have been able to trade. I had sold a business prior to getting into the trading business. So I sold a business before becoming a trader. So that's where I acquired that much money, enough money to be able to do this. There was a day back in 2005. It was April 12th, I believe, 2005. I earned $40,755.08. That was real money, legitimate, real money in my real account, 4 trades, trading the continuation breakout trade. I'm going to show you that today. It was 4 trades in the morning, California time, New York time. I was trading right around economic data. I'm going to show you how I do that. And at that point, that morning, it wasn't so much that I had earned $40,000, which was like amazing, but I had done it before. But that one particular morning, I had somebody a few days before, asking me if I would teach him how to trade. And I kept saying I didn't want to be distracted. I was afraid that I wasn't really ready. I wasn't at that point where I could take the distraction. And I just wasn't sure of myself yet. Like I was sure of my ability to trade, but I didn't want to disrupt any of the environment that I had created. I worked really hard to protect my environment in the home, in the office, how I slept, what I ate, what I did, all of that. My focus, I bought that speed reading program called IQ. It's still around today. They used to have television commercials. I got myself to the point where I was reading about 5,000 words a minute. Comprehension levels shot up through the roof. I was reading through reports, and I was doing anything and everything that I possibly could to improve myself in every area so that I could be a better trader. And I didn't want to have any of that change. But this day, April 12, 2005, I realized, I sat back after I closed those trades, and I thought to myself, you know what? No one's ever going to be able to take this away from me. This is actually a screenshot of the trades that I took, and you can see the time there. California time, I'm 3 hours behind New York. That's the time that you see there. So $40,755.08 that went into my trading account. I've made more than that. I've got a bigger account now. But this day, I realized I can teach. I'm not afraid. Nobody can take it away. It's a part of who I am every day. It's just who I've become. I've become a better person because I worked so hard at becoming a good trader. I learned patience. I learned how to look clearly at the heart and the core of what is happening rather than what I want to have happen, even in the heat of the moment of chaos and loss and fear. And that was a big challenge for me. It's super psychological sometimes to be losing lots of money and be, to learn to change that. And it's a fight. It's a fight. It's a mental thing that you've got to be prepared for and you've got to toughen up for. And sometimes it takes just getting out there and doing it again and again and again and again. Of course, each time you want to make a little bit of improvement, sometimes you're going to experience setbacks. It's okay. That's how it works. We all go through this. So who this webinar is for. If you trade on your own and you take a hands-on approach, as opposed to automated trading systems, this webinar is definitely for you. It's also for people who understand that there's no such thing as success without hard work. It's also for people who are committed to success in this business and people who are willing to set goals, create a plan, and then work that plan, stick with it until it starts paying off. So who this webinar is not for. It's not for people who want a hands-free trading system. This is not a signal alert where I send you an email or an SMS text or a trade copier. That is not what this is. You have to be in the chat room trading with me, and you have to trade my trade call when I call it out with me. If you've got any questions, you ask me immediately. I answer you right away so that you don't make any mistakes. This webinar is also not for people who think that they can come in with $500 and turn it into $25,000 by the end of the month. Be careful if that's your goal. It doesn't usually happen, and it usually turns out the complete opposite. So this is not, a get rich overnight quick thing. It's also not for people who think that they shouldn't experience any trading losses. Yes, I do experience losses, but I'm aggressive but not reckless. And what I mean by that is if I experience a loss, I'm going to be looking for the opportunity to earn back that loss. And if I get that opportunity in the next hour after I experience a loss, then I'll take the trade. I'm not going to hesitate. But if I have to wait until the following day or the next session before I get a signal to get a trade that would replace the loss, then that's how long it takes. I'm extremely patient. I learned patience. I don't think there's anything in my life that would have ever taught me the level of patience that I have other than trading. Some of my coaching students say I've got patience, the patience of a saint. It really is to that level. It's very extreme. I teach you how to do that. You'll watch me do it. You'll see most of my members in the chat room will say, you are like one really extremely patient person. Like I wouldn't be able to do what you do unless I was with you doing it. And they appreciate the fact that I'm not jumping in and out of the markets all of the time. I'm waiting for very, very specific setup and opportunities. But that's what gives me the opportunity to take choice trades that work, and I earn back my losses right away. It's also not for people who are not willing to invest in their trading and education. And I don't necessarily mean buying more, programs. Sometimes you just need to stop and work with what you have if it's something that will really work. So the main objective is total transformation. I want to help you achieve outstanding trading results. I want to help you earn as much money as you feel you're worth and to achieve your financial goals. And I want to help you reduce your trading business to total simplicity. Because overall, there's really only 4 moving parts to my trading system. And I want to help you make trading fun again. I love trading. Even if I experience a loss, I don't like losses. I don't like them any more than anybody else. But trading is fun. I'm not afraid of my losses. I know I can earn back my losses. I just need to wait for the market to give me the opportunity. And that's something else that's very challenging for me. I like the fight. I like to stay with it. I like to keep moving and leaning into the things that would normally cause pain. The things that would normally cause pain for me or anybody else. And that's really one of the other things I think you learn when you become a successful trader. You learn to not run away from those things, but to look at them even though there's all of this noise and all of this chaos going on around you. I mean, there's only a few things that are really important to most of us in the world is the loss of family, loved ones, and the loss of money. And when all of that's going on around you, you start losing a lot of money. You start thinking maybe you're going to lose and it's going to affect your relationship or your marriage. There's all kinds of things that can go on in your mind. And that's the whole chaos that's going on around you as you're trying to earn back a loss and trying to trade correctly. And I went through that. I know what it's like. I actually hired a professional psychologist, a coach that works exclusively with traders. This was back in 2001 and through 2002. It was expensive, but it worked. And I learned a lot, and I share all of that information with my coaching students, especially in the chat room. When you need help with psychological issues, I can definitely help you. I went through some really challenging times. So I started trading back in 2001. I began trading futures, and a few months later I started trading Forex, and I've been trading both ever since. As I've said many, many times, I've suffered the same experiences that most new retail traders do. I'm never going to say that I've seen it all because I don't believe in that term. I've been trading for 19 years, and I don't think anybody, even if they've been trading for 25, 29, or 39 years, I don't think not that one person, I don't think that they could say that they've seen it all. I think it's a general phrase that people use to say I've got a lot of experience, but things change all the time. Like our world is constantly evolving, and there's always going to be new things to learn. That's one of the things I really love about trading is there's always something new that happens. I ultimately had to stop following all of the services that weren't working for me, and I had to figure it out all on my own. It took me about a year and a half to actually start seeing results, consistent results that I could actually live off of, which means sending money home to pay the bills, taking care of the family, and then leaving enough money in my trading account to continue to experience growth. I developed my entire trading system on my own. I started a small managed fund in 2005, and as I started making money from my trading, family and friends wanted to know how I was doing it. So I started a private Yahoo instant message group. This was way back in the day, before 2005. That ultimately led into my first chat room in 2007. A lot of those people encouraged me. They said, you just turn it into a chat room. Like it's going to be easier. And I made some manuals and some videos about how I was trading, so I didn't have to repeat a lot of the basics in the chat room. But I called out trades from the very first day in my chat room. I was calling out trades for everybody. And many of those students in the chat room still work with me today. I've got students from 2007 that were in my chat room that learned my strategy, worked with me. I called out trades. I'm going to actually share with you some of the results from one of those that was with me all the way back from 2007, and occasionally she jumps into the chat room. So I've been teaching and coaching ever since 2007. I continue to this day. 2016, my trading system generated me and my students 31,784 pips. That's real. That's not double counting. That includes all losses. This system. So in other words, a hands-on trading system is very different than you would get as far as results with a trade copier or a signal service where you're on your own and you're going to get different results compared to what my results are. When you're in the chat room, I encourage you to do exactly what I do. I'm going to guide you. I'm going to protect you so that you can do exactly what I do. If you do what I do, the students that were with me for every one of these trades, they earned 31,784 pips. However, I'm going to be totally honest here. There were some students that didn't earn that much. Some of them were trading other strategies at the same time they were trading mine and listening to me and listening to somebody else. Others weren't in the chat room for every single day, every single trade that I called out during 2016 or 17 or 2018 or 2019. They're not all going to receive the same number of pips because, again, I said it really comes down to your ability to earn as much as I do, comes down to how much time you spend with me to trade. So that's what's really going to determine whether or not this is a good service for you. Do you have the available time to trade with me? And I'll explain exactly what the chat room hours are. So far this year, 2019, we're up 17,547 pips as of about a week and a half ago. I have an update that dated that on the website. That was about the middle, approximately, of August. This includes the losses. And remember, the results here are different than what I achieve on the trade copier. I'm going to explain exactly why in just a moment with some live trades that we've taken over the last couple of weeks. And trade copier students get one result. Chat room students get another result, and both of them, some of them in the chat room, are actually trade copier students, trade copier members. And they see the results. They see what's going on, and they see why. I mean, there's obviously some basic structural limitations to what I can achieve with a trade copier as opposed to, hands-on, moment-by-moment trading in a chat room. I'll show you exactly why. It'll all make sense, and it'll be very, very clear. I'm not trying to, pull the wool over anybody or deceive anybody. I want you to know exactly what you're going to get with these services that I offer. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to teach you my strategy, show you what it looks like, show you how I've made adjustments to it so far with this wild market environment that we're trading in, and then what it looks like in a normal market environment, and why it's better to be trading with me live in the chat room as opposed to trying to do it on your own or jumping into another chat room where everybody's calling out different types of trades. So I'm going to show you a really simple system. This is called the continuation breakout trade. This is the one that I use quite a bit. In this particular market environment, however, I am using the Tech 1 trade. I'll talk about that in another presentation, but I do teach these strategies. Everything that you hear me say, I teach these strategies live inside of the chat room. You don't have to pay extra for the education. It's all included in the monthly membership. So I'm going to teach you as well how you can keep the profits. I get students that join the chat room and they'll say, I'm really excited to be here. and they join chat rooms where they'll earn 50 pips and they're really happy, or they'll earn 100 pips for their first time, and then they're really happy, and then they give it all back the following day, and then they're even more negative 2 days later. So no more giving back profits. Yes, we're going to have losses, but we can earn back those losses on the next trade or two if we wait for it, and I call out those trades for you. I'll show you how to do that. So this is, again, a trade system that I call the continuation breakout trade. That's the first step. The second step, and I walk through these processes in the chat room with my coaching students in the chat room. I refer to a lot of the people, the members in the chat room, as coaching students as well, because there's a lot of coaching that goes on in there, but they are chat room subscribers and members. So we also need a control method for increasing the number of winning trades and reducing the number of losing trades. There are different ways to do that, and I explain exactly how and what this means. This might seem like a real vague concept, but it's very easy once you understand what it is that I'm doing inside of the chat room. I share these strategies with you in the chat room. You also need to be using realistic goals that encourage better performance and increase confidence. I'll give you an example really quick about what I mean by that number 3 point. In the first chat room, or in that one chat room that I mentioned, that they sold me the membership after I bought the trading course, the guys in there didn't have more than like 8 months of experience. Every time we started in the chat room, they would always try to pump everybody up, right? And I understand it. They're trying to keep their subscribers. I get it. There's a certain degree of sales. We all know that. So they would tell us all, get out a piece of paper, or get out a pen, write down how many pips you're going to make today. Write down your goal, tape it up on your computer. Do you want to make 60 pips? Do you want to make 40 pips? So I started doing that, and my number was 60 pips. And they would call out trades, and I would be down 60 pips within an hour or so, because they really traded. They really had horrible trades. Now, it's not impossible to have 2 losing trades that result in 60 pips. That happens every once in a while. That's okay. But do you have a system that allows you to earn back those losses? And they did not. They didn't know how to earn back those losses. And it was like every Friday when we would look back, they knew everybody was looking at their trading account thinking, this is horrible. So they'd say, okay, guys, before we close up shop here, come back on Monday, be ready, be excited. We've been working on another strategy. We haven't told you about it. We're unrolling it and unveiling it on Monday. We're working on a new trading system, and we've back-tested it. It's got great results. You guys are going to love it. So we'll see you guys all on Monday. And I'm sure that was also to a certain degree to keep their subscribers from canceling. They would always tell us that. And they were always really trying to trade different strategies. So I'm sure they spent a great deal of time chasing, different ideas, instead of sticking with one that worked and developing one. Anyway, this idea of picking a number, 60, the number of pips that I wanted to earn for the day, ended up being a really bad idea, and it turned against me. So I had one day I was down more than 60 pips. The next day I was down more than 60 pips. I remember one day I was down like 80 pips in a trade, and it just kept going and going. And within 2 days I was down 320 pips. So I'm sitting there, and I listen to this guy again when I join the chat room, and he says, all right, I'm starting off the morning, and he's all right, guys, write down your number. Let's do this. Let's go get them. And I write down 60, and I stop, and I go, I'm not doing this anymore. This is stupid, and I feel stupid. And I'm down 320 pips for just a couple of days, a few days here. So in order for me to even hit 60, now it's true that I could eliminate and forget about the 320 pips that I was down and just focus on that day and that moment and try to earn 60. Yeah, it's true. But this idea of trying to pick numbers, I'm going to have to earn back 320 pips just to even get to break even and then 60. So this doesn't make any sense. And this is about the time shortly after when I hired this psychologist. Again, a professional psychologist that worked exclusively with traders. And I explained what I was going through in one of the exercises that we would do in this chat room. They told me that's like ridiculous. So why don't you focus in on, instead of picking the number of pips that you want, what if your trade doesn't set up for the day? What if it's tight ranges of consolidation and you're looking at the euro dollar and it's only moving from the high to the low for like the last 3 days, 29 pips. There's almost no trades in there unless you're a scalper and you're trading off of a 1 minute, 5 minutes, something like that. And I didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't want to scalp anymore. So they said, if the market's not giving you the opportunity, then you can't sit down and write down 60. You're going to end up a failure at the end of the day just because the market didn't give you an opportunity to find your trade and your setup. So don't do that. Why don't you just focus in on doing the right thing? Perfect execution. So that's one of the things that I do is perfect execution. I've got a worksheet, I've got an exercise that I have all of my coaching students go through when they're struggling, is we do 20 perfect trades. However long that takes, if it takes 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or 2 weeks, depending on how many trades we get, we have 20 perfect trades. It's a worksheet, it's an exercise. I walk them through. I explain how to do that in the chat room, and I have the actual worksheet that I'll share with you. And that encouraged better performance, better results. Like I was grading my personal performance in the moment. And that ended up helping me stay away from when there wasn't a trade. And when there was a trade, I executed perfectly on that trade. And it produced a better result. That's what I'm talking about. So that's just one of the exercises that we do. This system, the continuation breakout trade, is best. I use it for day trading. But you can use it for swing trading. I do have some coaching students and some clients in the some subscribers in the chat room that trade it off of the 4-hour and the daily chart. And I do look at the 4-hour and daily chart. I look for these setups on the 4-hour and daily chart. And if you want to swing trade some of these, I do point them out and I call them out. The best results, though, for day trading are the 60-minute chart or greater. I do not use the continuation breakout trade on a 30-minute chart because it does lead to more head fakes and whipsaw moves than is necessary. You also want to apply this technique to more than one currency pair if you want to earn 100, 200, 300 pips in a day or 100, 200, 300 pips in a week, right? We need more trading opportunities. And eventually, there's really nothing wrong with looking at least the the 4 majors. So the key to using this strategy is in identifying the right highs and lows that accurately contain consolidation on the 1-hour chart. When I developed this method, it was a step-by-step process, and each one of these components took me a different length of time. Some of them were a few weeks to figure out, some of them were a few months to figure out. The first step was, what is consolidation? What is it? It's super subjective. You show consolidation, on a chart to a few different people, and they'll go, oh, well, I would probably use that high or that low to identify a breakout. And they're going to give you different ideas. That was a problem for me because I needed to figure out, how do I quantify consolidation? So that I know that each time I'm looking at a setup, that I can go back and say, is this the right range of consolidation that will accurately give me the breakout signal candle that I'm going to trade and the results afterwards? That was a weird thing because I didn't know what is consolidation like. So I figured out how to measure the high and the low. It has to be a specific distance. And it also has to, in my opinion, the way I trade it, has to be a specific number of candles. Preferably 7 to 8, which is approximately a trading session or two, something like that. 1 or 2 trading sessions is even better. The more and the longer it stays inside of a solidified range of consolidation, if it's the appropriate range from the high to the low, it cannot be less than 55 pips, but preferably more than 65 pips, then things start to line up, and that starts to look like a more qualified range of consolidation for me to use the continuation breakout trade. Now, I'm not saying this is how you quantify consolidation for every trading strategy. This is just for how I do it. This is what I needed to figure out. This is what was so strange in the beginning because I didn't have anything to compare this information to. It was just a matter of testing it. I just had to keep looking. So it was just the first step was I didn't even have an entry or a target or a stop. I was just trying to figure out what's consolidation and what causes a breakout when it continues to move and trend in the direction of the breakout. So it was a step-by-step process. I also use the Bollinger Bands, the CCI, and the MACD histogram, and I'll show you some of those charts. So let's take a look at them. Right now, you don't see the other indicators, but I want to show you the first one set up there. So on the far right, you see a candle that closes below that support low. That support low is 1.4917. It's on a 1-hour chart. This is the continuation signal candle. That's the breakout. That was due to U.S. economic data. Very often, in a normal environment, U.S. economic data or economic data is the driver or the catalyst that causes the market to react and where price finally breaks out of a range of consolidation. You'll notice that the range of consolidation with those 2 gold horizontal lines, right, support and resistance, they're more than the 55 pip range that I talked about. The range of consolidation that I settle in on to box in, I always refer to it as boxing in a range of consolidation because that made more sense to me to see it in a boxed in range rather than using the Bollinger Bands and trying to look at the bands because they move around too much. They still have too much wiggle room, I guess we could call it. When I box in a range of consolidation, that to me visually it's very obvious. It's easier for me personally to see it. So that's what I was looking for initially on the setup. So then there's my breakout. But that's not my entry. That's just my breakout signal candle. At that point, on that signal candle, when that candle closes, and I absolutely have to wait for that candle to close. You can't jump in while the candle's live because it can change, right? Sometimes you jump in when it's taking out the lows, and then all of a sudden, before the end of that 1 hour candle, it goes right back up inside a consolidation, ends up being a head fake, and you get stopped out. That's what I was trying to avoid as well. So I realized I had to wait for the candles to close. I was, always in the heat of the moment when I was first starting to trade back in 2001. I was jumping in when candles were open. So my system, I wait for confirmation. I wait for the candles to close. And there's plenty of opportunities because if you look at the charts, even on a book, you're looking at close completed candles. And you see the candle patterns and you see the results that develop afterwards. So it obviously works with the closed completed candles. That's what I realized. And I had to remind myself of these rules. I was making these videos and I would talk and speak into the microphone and then I would play them on my VHS player. Yeah, I was using a VHS player and I would replay these videos while I was trading and remind myself of these rules. Don't make this mistake. Remember this, remember that. Wait for the candle to close. All of these little things that I was piecing together as I was putting together my trading system. So I use what I call a 3-pip entry. I'm not going to get into the details of how I figured that out and where it came from and all of that. I talk about that, and if you want to learn all of the history and the details, I talk about it in the chat room. I also talk about it in other videos. But to get through this exercise so I can show you what I'm doing here, when the candle closes below support, I look at the Bollinger Bands first. They're not on this chart because I wanted you to be able to clearly see what's going on here. And then I use the CCI and the MACD and I confirm there cannot be any divergence in the CCI and there cannot be any divergence in the MACD histogram. And the Bollinger Bands have to be separating away from each other. Now I'm going to show you some examples of what all of that looks like with all three of those indicators. Right now I just want to show you the structure. So I wait for the candle to close. I have to use the right range of consolidation. It's got to be a specific distance from the high to the low. Wait for the candle. As well, if this is being driven as a result of economic data, I get to look at the economic report and study it and analyze it. So back to the signal candle. Again, when it closes, that's just the signal. Then I need to look at the indicators, confirm, make sure there's no divergence, make sure the Bollinger Bands look right. 3-pip entry. That means from the low of the signal candle, I have to wait for price to go 3 pips lower than the signal candle if I'm going to short this. So my entry with the 3-pip entry was 1.4901. That means the low of that signal candle was 1.4904. Now, on the next candle, it may not go as low as the 3-pip entry. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it'll go back up. Price will go back up and retest the level that it broke out of. That's normal. That's a perfectly normal and healthy retracement in the beginning of a downtrend like this. I learned that from John Bollinger. I'm a big John Bollinger fan. So needless to say, I'm going to follow that. And it works because, and it's not something that he invented. It's just something that he applied to his trading strategy and it makes sense. So again, these things are a lot of the things that I used to piece together my trading system. It wasn't like I followed people from Forex Factory. Yes, initially I was trying to learn how to trade back in 2001 on forums and threads, forums and things like that. But the people that I ultimately learned how to trade from, Michael Parnes, you probably heard about him. He wrote that book. His name is Waxy. He was a stock trader. I joined his futures chat room. I learned to trade from him. I learned to trade from John Bollinger. So I learned from professionals. That's where I realized that I need to stop listening to these people that weren't experienced and go after the people that really know what they're talking about and learn from them and pay for their knowledge. So that's how I was able to piece together all of these basic principles as to how the markets work, how things work, how traders react, psychology, all of it. So again, the retracements, it's not out of the ordinary. It's to be expected. But I'm going to go ahead and take this out a candle. And you can see that on the next candle, I did get my 3-pip entry. And there really wasn't much of a retracement where it went back up to retest the level that it broke out of. If it doesn't, then it's probably a pretty significant move as a result of the economic report that we're trading off of. Some economic reports produce results like this, and some of them will go straight. They'll drive price to go straight to that target within maybe 2 hours to 3 hours, sometimes 4. That's a faster moving trade. And that's a more normal. What you're looking at, this is a more normal market moving flow on this trade in this particular environment. It's not, we're not reacting to tweets and comments and statements the way we are today. And it'll return back to that, right? We'll get more desensitized to, this jumpy behavior. When we see somebody saying something, sometimes you don't always know how it's going to affect the market. But if you see it moving, then you jump in, and you don't know if you're even on the right side. That's going to pass, and it'll move. It'll go back to a more normal state. It always does, because I traded this strategy during every market crisis, including the global financial crisis, and it works like this every single time. We just have to wait for it to return, right? We have to wait for these conditions. And so far, there have been some pretty solid continuation breakout trades over the past few weeks, just not as many as normal because of the obvious ranges of consolidation we see in place. So this was the pound dollar. And when I trade the continuation breakout trade on the pound dollar, I use a 55 pip stop and a 55 pip take profit level. So you can see how many hours it actually took for it to reach that take profit level. More continuation breakout trades. The next few slides that I'm going to show you are continuation breakout trades that occurred on the 1 hour chart. And I want to show you just quickly. Again, we don't have the Bollinger Bands in here. I'm going to dissect all those and show you a close-up. But these are breakouts that occurred as a result of economic data, again, when the market was a more normal market moving environment, right? Our reactions, the collective reaction of traders and the market is a little more consistent and more fluid, meaning that we get a breakout due to economic data. No one in this environment was really afraid of the next tweet that was going to turn the price around on a dime and it was going to reverse 180 degrees in the opposite direction. Nobody was concerned about that. We were just simply trading off of economic data. That's a more normal market environment. Eventually, we're going to pass this Brexit thing. We're going to pass this whole trade war thing. Things are going to get a little more solidified, and there's not going to be any mistaking it, and we're not going to be looking at it. We're going to go back to analyzing economic data again. It'll happen. It'll work out. This trade, this continuation breakout trade from the 3 pip entry, again, on the next candle, we did get the entry. I'm going to show you some where we don't get the entry on the very next candle. We have to wait a little while. But again, if it's as a result of economic data, and this is during the New York session, that's a really good session for me. Meaning that when these breakouts occur like this, there's a lot more participation. I can see the volume levels. I know there's a lot more people participating in this trade, and it's more likely to go to that target. And I really don't have a whole lot to worry about. And again, during certain environments, we're not all that worried about the next tweet that's going to send the market reversing. So we hold on to our trades a little bit longer. 55 pips here. This particular day, again on the next few slides, it was the same day, same economic report, same time, just different currency pairs. So I had 3 continuation breakout trades that developed, and all 3 of them hit their targets within just a couple of hours. So here's another setup. This is another currency pair, the same economic report, same day, same 1 hour time frame, a different currency pair, and it reached its target within 2 hours. 55 pips was earned here as well. And then this was the same day, same economic report, but in the opposite direction, right? If I'm trading the majors, 1 or 2 of them is going to go down while the other 2 are going to go up, usually. You get my point. We're looking at the euro dollar and the pound dollar, dollar yen, dollar Swiss. You know what I'm talking about there. So again, this was in the opposite direction, and this paid 55 pips. Same reaction to the news that was released that morning during the New York session. More volume, more participation. I pick my choices. I pick my trades. I pick them very often due to the time of day that it develops, because I want a trade that moves like this. I don't really want to get into a trade during an extremely slow period of the market. Now, sometimes it's, at the beginning of a setup, but I really would rather not if it doesn't look like there's really much of a setup or an opportunity. If I can see that I'm going to end up having to hold on to a trade for 18, 24 hours, I think I'd rather just pass on it. I don't want my capital tied up on a trade when there's the opportunity that maybe the Australian dollar or the dollar pound, might get some Brexit news, 4 hours later, and I wish I was not in the trade that I'm babysitting when I could take a faster moving opportunity and get in, get out with my profits with a shorter amount of time that I've got my capital available in the markets. And that's something that you want to think about today in today's market environment. I keep saying we're in this preservation mode. We're in this, we're preserving capital. We're in this. It's interesting. I'll stop there. We talk about it all the time in the chat room. I mean, every day we've got to analyze the conditions in the market environment. This is a method. This is the same strategy, the continuation breakout trade, but traded on the daily time frame. As I mentioned, I will and I look at the daily time frame, the 4 hour, the 1 hour. I analyze and do all of my analysis live on the screens. You get to watch me. I talk my thoughts out loud. So you watch my analysis, and you get to ask me questions. Like I'm more than happy to share. I'm going to share. I'm going to say this real quick. Every once in a while, I get the question, why do you even do this? Like, you don't need to do this. Yeah, you know what? I think I do. Basketball players, professional sports athletes, things like that, they go back and they drill on the basics. Doesn't matter how many years they've been doing it. When they slack off on drilling on the basics, they lose their game. And I want to keep trading with other people that are going to ask me questions, that are going to hold me accountable for what I say. If a trade fails, I'm going to dissect it. I'm not going to run away from it. I'm going to lean into it, and I'm going to explain exactly what's going on. I'm going to share with you why it didn't work and what I'm going to do to correct it. Because I want you to learn the same pattern, the same process, the same mindset. It is mindset. So every day that I trade, I know that somebody's going to ask me a question. I hope they do. I'm not going to run away from the question. I'm not going to hide. If I don't have an answer, if they're talking about another strategy, I'll let them know. I want to learn. I want to see what else is going on. I want to see what else other people are doing. I want to see what they're doing. And it keeps me at the top of my game as a result of trading with other people and calling out these trades live. Like, I know everybody's watching me. If a trade wins, they're watching me. If a trade fails, they're watching me. And they want an answer, whether it's a winning trade and a losing trade. And it keeps me sharp. When I started doing this in 2007, I realized that it really solidified a lot of the things that I already knew were in my mind. But it's almost like I listen and watch a lot of, and I read some of Jordan Peterson's books. He's a guy on YouTube, if you haven't heard of him, clinical psychologist, and he's talking about how we very often, most of us think by talking. It's in my opinion a limited amount of thinking if we don't speak. You're still thinking, but I really do a lot of my best analysis, and the best ideas come out as a result of me talking about what I'm thinking. A lot more often than when I'm just quietly on my own thinking, because it doesn't spark me to come up with new ideas or to come up with different angles. And that's exactly what's going on in this chat room. I'm communicating all of these ideas, and sometimes my strategy may not work with the price structure that we see, because the market's really volatile and doing some pretty interesting things. So I speak these ideas out. It was interesting, our conversation today that I had in the chat room. We were talking about Angela Merkel and her comment, and I said something. I said, one of the things that we need to look at that a lot of people probably don't consider, and I wouldn't have considered it many, many years ago, is when these comments are made, are they posted on Twitter or websites or hitting the news so that we can all trade off of it? Are they being posted live as they're saying it? Or is it a prepared statement that someone or some group of people are sitting on to wait for an opportunity to release that information at a specific time, moment in time, because they know it's going to affect the markets? And if that's the case, and it's the case in both, it does both. Sometimes the comments are live, and sometimes they're prepared statements, and they were prepared maybe the day before, and they're released at specific times to manipulate the market. And when I use the word manipulate, I don't always mean that it's a bad thing. Sometimes it's a manipulation to get price to move to a certain level for a certain reason, to produce a certain result. We can't control it. All we can do is try to identify it. That was one of the other things that that we were thinking about, and a lot of people said this morning in the chat room, wow, that's pretty insightful. I never even thought about that possibility, because if it means that they're sitting on these statements until a specific moment in time during the New York session and we're all trading it, and they're going to manipulate price, well, then we need to defend ourselves. We need to protect ourselves and be on risk prevention and protection mode at that point, capital protection. This is the environment we're trading off of. So this one, again, bigger targets when you're trading the continuation breakout trade on the larger time frame. But I call some of these trades out when we see them in the chat room, because in addition to seeing them and identifying them on a daily time frame, which usually leads to a bigger overall trend, when we get into the trades on the 1 hour time frame, we go back to the daily time frame to make sure that the trends are still intact, and we can hold on to some of these trades a lot longer than that 55 pip take profit level. This is another trade, pound yen continuation breakout trade on the 4 hour chart. So I even find continuation breakout trades on the 4 hour chart. And you can see how price went from 180.50 all the way up to 184 That's a big move. It's a big move. I mean, that was a big trending move on that breakout. Here you can see a little closer at the Bollinger Bands, the CCI, and the MACD histogram. Actually, I'll go back here and you can see that. Notice how on that candle, the candle that closed, the white candle that closed right above the 1.5169 area, the Bollinger Bands are separating away from each other on that closed completed candle. And that's the separation that I talk about. That shows a sign of strength. At that point, when I see that, I would expect price to continue to trend as long as the other indicators and things line up, like the fundamentals, what's driving it, why it's moving in this direction, what do I expect, right? Is there going to be a reevaluation of its currency pair to the upside? I need to do that analysis as well, and I do all of that in the chat room. So again, we see the Bollinger Band separation on that candle that closed above the resistance, no divergence, and it continues along. I mean, we're talking about a 350-point move there. This is another setup on the euro-dollar daily time frame. That was the first close completed candle that closed above that area of consolidation. Again, Bollinger Band separation on that close completed candle. You'll notice that it always has to be a close completed candle. So if the top Bollinger Band was pointing down or straight across horizontal, but the bottom Bollinger Band was pointing down, if there's some divergence there in that Bollinger Band, then that would indicate that there's probably going to be some retracement or possibly even a head fake, and price would drop back down. That would be one of the first indicators. There are other ways to determine that, but that would be one of the first indicators. But for sure, on a breakout, I need to see the separation in the Bollinger Bands first. This is the Euro-Yen 4-hour chart, continuation breakout trade. And then we're going to get a closer look. So now we're going to look at the 1-hour chart. This is the dollar-yen. And you can see right there in the center of the screen, there's a price tag that reads 119.61. That was my 3-pip entry. The red candle is the bearish candle that printed the continuation breakout trade. And you'll notice on the next small green candle, it didn't go down to the 3-pip entry. So I did not get the entry on the next candle. This is what it looks like when we have to wait. So I had to wait 7 hours approximately. So it retraced. And in this case, obviously it went up a little bit higher than just retesting the level that it broke out of. And that was because of the relation to where support was to where the candle actually closed and printed and gave me the 3-pip entry, right? Sometimes it's going to be a little bit further, so the retracement is likely to stop right around the old support new resistance level in most cases. Again, it doesn't mean that it has to every single time. That gold arrow pointing down on that strong red candle, that's the candle, and in that hour, that's what gave me the 3-pip entry. Price moved back down. So the initial breakout was some economic data that was taking effect, that was affecting the dollar. And then I waited 7 hours later, and then there was economic data on that red candle with the gold arrow during the New York session. And you know, if you've been trading the dollar yen, you know that it's very often hypersensitive to U.S. economic data. So not only did it give me the 3-pip entry, but it also was the driver to initially to additionally push price lower to its expected take profit level. And you can see in this example that there you can see the take profit level down there. It's going to take some time. I mean, this one obviously took more than 12 hours to reach that target. Sometimes that happens. I would rather it not happen because I talked about, you know, I want to find trades where I can get in and out relatively quick, but you can't always determine that. However, I do scale out on these trades. I'm going to show you what that looks like. There was a scaling out level within the first 3 candles, the first 3 hours after I got into the trade. And then I would then hold for the final target. So we're going to take another closer look. Here's the dollar Swiss. Here's another continuation breakout to the downside. I'm going to give you a close-up so you can see the indicators on that close completed candle. But here you can see where the 3-pip entry is. That I got my 3-pip entry on the next candle. I call these trades out live. This is what I do. So I'll say, and it's interesting because there's a lot of time to prepare for the continuation breakout trade when you're in the chat room. Sometimes people will say, well, do you just scream out a trade and then we don't have any time to take it and it takes off without us? No, there's a lot of time. So for example, when we see price coming down to support, the candle hasn't closed. We know that. And if we're trading the economic report, Then I'm going to walk through the economic report and the results with you. And I'm going to show you and tell you that it's driving price lower. Now we just need to wait for the candle to close. Then the candle closes. So I'm walking through this entire process as this candle is going lower and lower and lower and taking out the support level and then eventually closing. And then once it closes, I look at it. We look at the indicators. I show you right on the charts and I say, okay, all three indicators are lining up perfectly. Here's my 3-pip entry. We don't know if the next candle is going to give us the 3-pip entry, but here's the 3-pip entry. Here's the 55-pip stop loss. Here's the 55-pip take profit level. So then I call out the trade. As soon as I get the entry, as it's approaching the 3-pip entry, I'll say, okay, guys, it's getting ready. I mean, we're about 1 pip, 2 pips, 3 pips away, whatever it is from the entry. Get ready. I'm getting ready. I'm going to take this trade. So I execute the trade. I'm getting in or I'm selling dollar Swiss at 0.9246. My stop loss is 0.9302. That's a 55-pip stop loss. My 55-pip take profit level is 0.9190. And if I'm going to scale out, it would be the first 20 pips profit. I call all of that out. I show the price tags on the charts. You see it on the screen. And I type in the trade details after I call it out in the chat room so that if you went to go get a sandwich or a drink of water, when you come back to the desk, you can see all of the trade details there. Again, sometimes you get 7 or 8 hours before you get the 3-pip entry. So you can wait. You don't get an entry on the very next candle in all situations, conditions, the execution with the continuation breakout trade. Sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. And it depends on what the driver is. Why is price moving, and is it going to move quickly? So this one paid and reached its 55-pip take profit. No problem. The retracement after we got into the trade, you can see how it went back up to that gold support level. That's that support level. So it went back up to and retested the level that it broke out of, held there for about 2 or 3 hours, and then resumed its normal. And again, that's a healthy move. We get a breakout, you get a retracement, a retest, and then it continues. That's the healthy price structure that we need to see in most cases. It doesn't always happen, but when it happens, you should be comfortable with it, accept it. I always expect some kind of a retracement when I get into the trades. I don't like them, but I have to prepare for them. So here's a close-up of that same trade, the dollar Swiss. But that's the actual signal candle. Now again, notice on that signal candle, Bollinger Bands are separating away from each other. No divergence in the CCI and no divergence in the MACD histogram. So here's another one. These are paying relatively quick. You get the signal candle, 3-pip entry. Economic data is driving price up and out above that range of consolidation. And then there's that follow through for the next 2 hours. 55 pips. This one pays 55 pips. It's a 55 pip take profit. So on the pound dollar, euro dollar, dollar Swiss, dollar yen, I use a 55 pip stop and a 55 pip take profit. On the euro yen and the pound yen, those are different. I make more money when I trade the euro yen and the pound yen. On the euro yen, it's a 150 pip target with a 55 pip stop loss. And on the pound yen, we call that the beast in the chat room. On the pound yen, it's a 250 pip target with a 55 pip stop loss. I'll actually show you one of those today. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I want to personally help you implement this trading system into your daily trading routine. You've been watching this webinar with me because you know that you need a solid, proven, and tested trading system that will allow you to safely trade in all market conditions. And you're dead certain that you can succeed at this. You know you can succeed as a trader and live from your trading efforts. You just need some help figuring out the right strategies that will help you earn profits that you can live off of, send money home, pay the bills, and leave some in there in that trading account to experience growth. You know that you want the certainty of using a proven trading system that will work, that's proven to work. I've been using the same system since 2001. So that when you put on a trade, you will experience a higher chance of winning on your trades. My ultimate goal is to provide each one of my chat room members the opportunity to earn at least 10,000 pips a year. That's a year. Not every month, of course, but that's per year. As a result of me calling out these trades live. And I work with each of my chat room members until they realize that goal. So this is really the way to reach your goals and to achieve your dream in this business if you're struggling right now. What would your life be like if you were trading with me over the past 12 months and you earned at least 10,000 pips up to this point? We're up over 17,000 pips, as you can go to the website and see the performance page there. And these trades are all live. I call them out live in the chat room. There's a history, if you look at the transcripts, of all the way back. I mean, it's daily. All of the things that I type into the chat room are there, including the the trade alerts. So it has the currency pair, entry, take profit, stop, and then when we get out in and out of the trade with a profit or a loss, you can see it all. So if you'd like to achieve this with me, we can do it together, and that's why I created the Forex Chat Room. It's the same chat room that I started back in 2007. That was initially my first website. That's what it was all about. I opened up a chat room and I called out trades live. It's a very unique opportunity for you, and it's like nothing that you've ever seen before. I take what I do in the chat room very seriously. This is an in-depth training that's designed to help you. Again, as I said, this is not like any other chat room that you've probably been in. I've been in many other chat rooms just to see what it is that they're doing. It's my competition to a certain degree, and I want to know what other people are offering, or if I should step up my game and help my subscribers more, or if there's something, changing in the industry and the market, or, people's expectations, what it is that they need. I need to be learning about that too. So I'll join certain chat rooms, and it's a mess. Everybody's calling out their own ideas. You don't know who to listen to. You don't know who to trade, who to follow. It's a mess. Identifying the precise trading systems and techniques that you can focus on right away that will provide you with at least 10,000 pips per year, that's what you're going to get in this live Forex chat room. And then finally, to eliminate the fear and the stress and the financial losses that put most traders out of business. I'm going to be there to help you work out through or work through and work out the details of exactly what I went through that you might be going through too. I know what you're experiencing. I know the fear. I know the pain. I know what you're going through. And yes, you can make a living from trading. You just got to be in the right environment and with the right people that will protect you. I'm going to help you design the perfect trading system that you will be completely happy with. I'm going to teach you how to put together a trading system in the chat room. One that you'll never have to fear executing. And your life will be easy, relatively easy. My life is relatively easy. I know what I need to do each day, and you won't feel the stress and the overwhelm that typically develops as a result of going into a new chat room or not knowing what to experience, and where they end up not really even helping you anyway. That's horrible. So if you want to start earning at least 10,000 pips per year and closing each month with profits that you can count on and live off of, then this is what you want. I absolutely guarantee it. So here's how it works. The Forex Chat Room is $179 per month. It's a monthly membership, and you can cancel anytime you like. You get to trade with me and other Forex traders in a live market environment, and there is coaching and education as well. I do have a special offer for you as a result of watching this webinar, so you're going to get a discount price. I'll mention that here in just a moment. So let me share with you some of my recent stats. The chat room, again, has been an evolution process since July of 2007. This particular model has helped my personal students earn the following results. This is a message that I received from a chat room member. Going through the coaching program as well inside of the chat room and getting a lot of coaching in there. I'll read it quickly. Joseph, this message is from my family as much as it is from me. I would like to start off by saying thank you so much for all of your help, and this is from the bottom of my heart. I watched several of your videos on your website before signing up as your student, and you mentioned in many of your videos that most of your students have a lot of trading experience before finding you. I am one of those guys. I've been trading for 4 years, and as much as I hate to admit it, I've blown up 3 trading accounts. My wife is extremely upset with me the last time I did it, and she made me promise to stop trading because it always ended the same way. Then a few months back, I saw one of your tweets and clicked on the link to your site and then watched one of the first 3 videos that you had. You sent me a link to watch a coaching webinar, and I watched the whole thing. I haven't seen anything like it. And I've tried many signal services and chat rooms, and they don't say the things that you say. That's the first thing that stood out to me. I waited a couple of days later, and then I watched a few other short videos of you, and I decided you were the guy that could really help me this time, but I had to get my wife involved because I didn't feel that I could trust my judgment. She listened to your videos, and she said, if this guy's lying, he's got to be the best BS artist because even I can understand what he's saying. She was so impressed, and after 2 more days of talking to her, I convinced her to support me and let me try Forex trading one more time with your guidance. I also appreciate that you took the time to talk to her on Skype. You didn't have to do that, but it shows you are willing to help me, and it shows that you have nothing to hide. Thank you again. This is another one that I received from one of my coaching students. This was actually one, I believe this was one from 2008. This is amazing. I love this. I still get messages like this, and it's amazing. This chat room member still comes into the chat room every once in a while. So I've been throwing myself at Forex every way I could for 2 years. I've spent up to 18 hours a day in front of my charts. I've made thousands of trades. I'm passionate about trading. It's not for everyone, but trading is for me. I love it. I cannot stop. and I've taken lots of training. So I came to you ready with a certain level of experience and knowledge and commitment, but I was not making money until 1 month ago. And I'm doing it with your 3 strategies. I've abandoned my swing trades altogether. I just day trade using your strategies. I also want to say that if you were not providing the help, I don't think I would be having this success. The help makes a big difference. It's very important to me. When I feel nervous about being able to continue to succeed, I take refuge in knowing that you're available to help me. That increases my confidence, and confidence is a big part of my trading success. I think the most important thing is that I'm really trading using your day trading strategies. I'm not using anyone else's strategies. I will never be able to thank you enough, and that's the real truth. I mentored a student that was in the chat room who had 3 years experience. She was struggling, spending more than 16 hours a day in front of the charts, just like a lot of us, and still wasn't producing any consistent results until she started using the same methodologies that I teach in my coaching program, the same methodologies that I teach in the chat room. In a 24-hour period, she earned over 1,200 pips. This was her best day ever. Let me explain before you call BS here. Every once in a while, we all know, and this was all developing during the global financial meltdown. So this was a student that was in my chat room with me. I called out trades during the global financial meltdown. And back then I was actually watching 16 different currency pairs on all of my monitors. And I wouldn't call out trades all the time on all 16, but when we would have breakouts as a result of all of the things that were unraveling and unfolding during the global financial meltdown and the carry trades were unwinding, we would see multiple continuation trades on many yen crosses. And I was trading yen crosses and pound crosses. And when we got these breakouts with the carry trade unwinding on the yen, let's say the yen crosses, I would get them on the dollar yen, pound yen, euro yen, Australian yen, the list goes on and on. I would call out these breakouts and all of them would reach their targets within maybe 3-4 hours during some of those days during the global financial meltdown. We started off the day during the Asian session. I called out a few trades when we started, and then we went through the London session, and I called out more trades with some economic data, and then there was some economic data during the New York session. So we were already up maybe 300-400 pips as a result of taking the trades, and it was just one of those days where it was just a big market moving day. We get them. We don't always get them. I can't make 1,000 pips every day. I can't make 1,000 pips in a week every week. It just doesn't happen. The market's not providing the opportunity. But when it does, I call out these trades and I trade them. And I show you how to safely trade them. I'll show you that scaling out method here in just a moment. I called out all of these trades. She took every one of them. She didn't miss a session. She didn't miss a trade. Some of the other students in the chat room, they were hesitant because we had like 3 trades open at one time. And then I would call out another one and I'd say, guys, I'm sorry to do this, but the market's moving. We're getting another opportunity. I'm taking this trade. And I take these trades. So I called out the trade. I put in the stop. I put in the target. I told them exactly what I was doing with it. And then as they're reaching their targets, we're scaling out. I say it's reaching its first target. I'm locking in half of my position here. I'm going to set the second half of my position at a break-even stop. And here's the final target. And I explain everything that's going on. Nobody's left to guess what to do in my chat room. I'm not going to do that. I would never do that. That's like a horrible situation. It's my trading system, and it's my job to communicate that to you. So she took every single trade, and then we got the breakouts more breakouts after New York economic data. By the end of that day, just as the following day was starting the Asian session, most of the trades, there was maybe a straggler or two where there was one trade or two that was a few, maybe 20 pips away from the final target. As you can imagine, with a lot of the yen crosses, there's some pretty big targets. Like, for example, the pound yen, we use a 250 pip target. That hit, we got a 250 pip target. The euro yen hit the 150 pip target. The pound dollar hit its 55 pip target. The euro dollar hit its 55 pip target. The dollar yen, the dollar Swiss, all of these were hitting their targets. And including the Australian yen, all of them were hitting their targets as a result of the news and what we were all anticipating and waiting for. It was a big day. It was a big day that day, and it affected the markets across the board. She ended up earning over 1,200 pips. I believe my total was like just over 1,600 pips that day, and you can't do that every day. And those are very rare instances with this. When we get these really, it's a crisis, right? And there's really not a whole lot to be afraid of if you're using a solid trading system that incorporates the right principles, support and resistance, demand and supply, and having the right using the right indicator. So I see very often, and I know because I was guilty when I did this in the beginning of my trading career. I would use the wrong indicators for the wrong type of trade and the wrong type of setup. It wasn't giving me the confirmation that I needed. So if everything's in place, you're using the right structure, you understand how the markets are reacting to it, you understand news, all of these things combined and come together give you a perfect opportunity to make money like that. But it doesn't happen all the time. But the next crisis that we get, we're certainly going to be able to trade just like this. These days will happen. The next testimonial I received from a coaching student was really great stuff. Just wanted to drop a line and thank you for the material that you sent me the other day. You really didn't have to do that, and I really appreciate it. You're really one of a kind in this business. One of the good guys for sure. I traded just one of the setups you showed on 3 different pair and made over $2,000. I'm looking forward to taking I used to call my program the Magic Trading Model, but again, all of that education is in the chat room. Thanks again and have a great weekend. Another student, I helped him make over 700 pips in a 24-hour period. This took him about 2 months. He went through my coaching, was in the chat room, did a lot of the material, but they were having a baby, he and his wife, and they had a nursery that was being built. He wanted to get in and get exposure to the material and then take some time off, and then he came back 2 months after. So a lot of times people will say, well, how long does it take to really get a hang of what it is that you're doing, your trading and everything? And it doesn't take that long. If you're going to be trading with me every day, you're already learning from the very first day exactly what it is that I'm doing. Another one here, a coaching student in the chat room, he sent me a message and it reads, Joseph, I finally did it. I've been hesitant in executing the breakout trade technique because of the 55 pip stop loss. Not that 55 pips is a lot, but I executed the plan just like you said to do. The Australian yen and the Australian dollar both worked perfectly, and I made 111 pips. This marks the first time I've made over 100 pips in one day, and I owe it all to you. I can't ever thank you enough. This is actually his chart. This was the breakout trade. I called this trade out. This was on the Australian dollar. I don't have the Australian yen, but it was basically the same thing. There was the breakout. You can see the Bollinger Band separation. You can see the CCI confirming. You can see the MACD confirming, and it was a 55 pip take profit target on this one. Obviously, on the Australian dollar, it's a little bit different. Some of them, again, some of them are 55 pips. The others have different ranges depending on the distances that they can cover. This one here is as a result of a student in the chat room trading around economic data. So this one reads, non-farm payrolls is no big deal with Joseph trading methods. I entered the pound and the CAD prior to news using a continuation breakout trade and a Tech 1 trade entry. I teach you exactly what these mean and what they are. All of the rules he teaches were followed. I learned over the last month that when I follow his rules, my trades always win. I know that sounds impossible, but I entered 12 correct trades this week, and all 12 trades paid me 418 pips on my live account. That was all in 1 week. I've been trading live 3 weeks now, and I can't believe it's true, but it is. Anyone who's suffering, working hard, open-minded, able to forget most of the past trading rules you have been taught, and want to study something that will last forever, that will last even after he's gone, then this is it. Of all the 2 years of training I've received, Joseph is the only trainer who has a method that works 100% of the time when I follow his rules. I can't believe it, but it's true for me. Thank you, Joseph, for helping me so much. The personal videos you made just for me, the email responses to my questions, and mostly the one-on-one time in the daily chat room means so much. I have 2 fellow traders learning from Joseph now for a week or so. My prayer is that they too finally find a way to trade like I have. My belief is that this method will work for anyone who wants to learn. I will increase my lot size next week and continue to manage my business safely with less stress as I realize the power he has released in my hands to accomplish my dreams. See you at the top. I am deeply appreciative of messages like this. Like, I love these things. I print them out and I put them honestly in a 3-ring binder, and I've had them since 2007. And this is what drives me, and this is what I really appreciate. This is what I want to provide for you. Another one of my chat room members, we were going back and forth through email communication, and this was just a comment that he said, but basically it really comes down to this system has a proven track record. It carried me and my coaching students through the global financial meltdown and every other major or minor crisis since and before then. And in case you're wondering how it's going to work in the future, my member in the chat room, my coaching student, was saying, I must say that I'm impressed that your trading methods have not changed much in all of these years. That says a lot about the methods. And he's been with me for the last 4 years and he hasn't gone anywhere. So he continues to work with me. Trading in the chat room. These are my results and the results of some of my students. My results and their results are not typical and are for illustrative purposes only. These are true and factual, but what I want to show you is that to illustrate the power and the potential of using a system like this, when you do it correctly, when you have help, when you have support, when you can ask your questions and get them answered immediately, and someone's there to guide you and protect you and keep you from making mistakes that normally put people out of business. I'm not guaranteeing that you or anyone else will experience the same results as a result of watching this video and watching some of the strategies and the techniques. You really need to understand how to execute these trades. This model requires work and it's not a hands-free system. This is the simplest and the most profitable trading model I've ever seen and used, and I want to personally help you implement it. But there is limited space in my chat room due to the amount of personal attention I give my members. You must be willing to trade your own account. Again, there's no trade copy here. You have to be hands-on. You also must have some trading experience. I really would prefer that you have some trading experience. Somebody who doesn't even know what a candlestick pattern is, obviously they're most likely not even going to end up in my chat room. But I mean, I wouldn't turn them away, but it makes it a lot easier. You must be willing to work. You have to be putting in the work and the time to be with me in the chat room, or it's just not going to be that cost effective for you. And again, there's no automated trading system here. You must be able to follow instructions. Again, it can't work for traders who are looking to turn $500 into $25,000 in 30 days. It's just not going to happen. You must be able to trade with me during the live chat room hours, which are right now, currently, as of today, 8 a.m. New York time to 1 p.m. New York time, which is effectively 5 a.m. Pacific to 10 a.m. Pacific, or 1 p.m. London to 6 p.m. London. That's approximately 5 hours. Sometimes we stay a little bit longer. Now, September 16th, I will be adding the London session to this. Right now you can get in, you can use that bit.ly link down there that it says bit.ly/chatroomlive. That'll take you to the sales page where you can get more information, and then you click on to join and it'll take you straight to the sign up page. The bottom line cost, as I mentioned, there's going to be a discount available for you watching this webinar, and it's a limited time offer. You can join the chat room and trade with me personally. It's normally a monthly price of $179. Seats are available right now. For attending this webinar, you can get the special promotion that I'm offering on the website. It's $99. $99 a month. You lock in the rate. When I adjust the price back to $179 on September 16th, when I add the London session to this, everybody else is going to be paying $179. You will always pay and only pay $99 per month. So again, September 16th, I'll be adding the London session, which means our trading hours will be from 3 a.m. New York time to 1 p.m. New York time. So I put in a lot of hours. I put in about 9-10 hours when we're doing both sessions, the London and the New York session. I don't trade during the Asian session. That's usually when I sleep. I trade during the London session. I start at 12 midnight California time, which is 3 a.m. New York time. That is when I add the London session. So when I add the London session, that will be the hours. Currently, right now, if you jump in, you'll be getting the 5 hours, which is 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. New York time. And then again, on September 16th, I'll be adding the London session. Price will go back up to $179. If you purchase now, you'll be locking in the price of $99, and you won't ever have to pay any more than that. Your price will always remain at that rate. It's very important to me that you maximize your profitability from this trading system and that you realize your goals. I have to be there to help you do that. This is literally the pinnacle of my life's work as a trading coach, and it's a joy and an honor to go on this journey with you. This is literally the best that I can give you. If you've lasted this long into the webinar with me, then you probably realize that you really want to succeed as a trader in this business, and you're tired of not earning what you truly believe you're worth. I have really good news for you. You deserve to earn what you feel you're worth. And for many of you, it's your obligation to earn what you're worth for the benefit of your families. We all, at one point or another, we learn that we have to overcome fear in order to get what we want, or to do, or to succeed at something. This business demands that we do that. We have to confront that reality. In the beginning of my trading career, I had people that supported me in my life, and without them, I could not have made it. There were also other people that I didn't know personally, but they inspired me to succeed. Having someone in your corner who supports you and can help you will make a huge difference and can literally change the outcome for the better. We all face the question, should I continue with this dream or should I walk away? And I have to wonder where I would be today if I didn't have my support team in the beginning. If you feel that you can do this and you really want to, then you should, regardless if you and I work together or not. You really should do it. This is a wonderful business to be in. And once you've reached your goals, you'll be able to look back and see that you were blessed with the opportunities that this business provides everybody with. Now more than ever, you need to provide yourself and your family with financial security and take matters into your own hands. The world is changing, and as traders, we often see much of that uncertainty, and the market changes long before the average citizen does. And we can see the impact it has on our societies. And I would be honored to help you do it and to be in your corner if you'd like me to help you perfect your ultimate trading lifestyle that will provide you and your family with stress-free abundance and earn what you're truly worth. I would be more than happy to help you do so. You can sign up using that URL. I'll show you in the next slide. And it would be my pleasure to talk to you if you've got any questions. If you've got any questions on that website, on that page, when you click the URL, you can schedule a time to talk to me on Skype for 30 minutes if you've got questions and you really want to find out if this is the right thing for you. This chat room will help you achieve your goal. You will receive personal attention when you have questions, and I will call out live trades in the chat room that you can trade with me. I will tell you precisely when I'm getting into a trade and when I'm closing my trades, and I will help you do the same. My goal is to help you get to your goal as quick as possible and getting you to live a life of stress-free abundance, knowing that you're providing for your families and yourself. So I'll answer some questions here. Again, here's the details. There's the link at the bottom to go straight to that page. It's bit.ly/chatroomlive. That landing page, that sales page will give you more information. There's some videos there. And then there's also at the very bottom a button that you can click to schedule a time to talk to me personally on Skype. If you've got questions about what I'm doing here, you want to make sure that it's the right thing for you. Remember, right now, it's limited. The time this is a limited time offer, but right now you can get in for $99 a month. It's a monthly subscription. You'll be able to lock in the price and your subscription will never change. Starting September 16th, I'm going to be adding the London session to the chat room hours and the price will go up. But if you purchase now, you'll be getting the London and the New York session, but your price will remain at the $99 price. Chat room hours right now are 8 a.m. New York time to 1 p.m. New York time. When I add the London session, it will be 3 a.m. New York time to 1 p.m. New York time. So you can see we're getting about 10 hours or so of trade during when I add the London and New York session. So right now I'm going to answer some questions. And again, if you have any questions, click on that button at the bottom of the page to schedule a time to talk to me. It's a 30-minute free session. And it'll automatically book. It'll take you straight to the calendar, and I get that email, and then I'll confirm with you and schedule, give you my Skype ID.